Well, Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone had a great Christmas holiday and a fantastic New Year's. It's hard to believe we are already into 2026. Um, Today is Friday, January 2nd, as I am recording this, ready to be posted tomorrow. With starting a new year already, I thought this would be a great time to recap and go over all of our markets from 2025. We definitely did a lot more markets last year than what we started with in 2024. If you are just joining us for the first time or have come in sort of in the last little bit, hello, my name is Nicole and I am the creator behind Firefly Creations. I primarily do crochet amigurumi, and most of my videos have been following along my journey with the markets that I've been going to and market recaps. And so I thought it was fitting to do a full market recap and a full recap of 2025. Overall, we did 12 markets last year, so huge increase over 2024. 2024 is when I actually started doing markets. Back in October 2023 is when I started crocheting amigurumi style items. And I had been making items from that time up until August of 2024, and I hadn't been selling them. I didn't even attempt to sell them on Marketplace or anything like that. And as I built my confidence up with the items that I was making, I felt like I was ready to go do a market. I had thought about doing a market before August of 2024, and for whatever reason, I just kept finding excuses why I shouldn't sign up for a market. So I thought August was an interesting time for me in that year as well. I was in between jobs. So going to markets actually kind of helped me get out of the house, start talking to people again. Up until that point, I had spent over 20 years working retail. So it was day to day. I was talking to different people, and every day was different. And that's a big change when all of a sudden you're in between jobs and you're at home. So it allowed me a lot of time to actually crochet more items. But I thought I need to get out of the house. So that was an outlet for me to get out, talk to people, and see if my stuff would sell. So August was my very first market, and I think in 2024, I was trying to look back, I actually think I only did 3 markets, maybe 4, but I don't remember what that 4th one was. So I'm pretty sure it was only 3. I did one in August, one in October, and then one last one in December. And I had pretty good success with those 3, and I'll touch base on 2 out of those 3 at the end of going over 2025, just to give you a small comparison. Of how things have progressed since I started. But yeah, so this year in 2025, I started my first market in May. So what I'll do is I'll kind of go through the date that our market was, if it was an outdoor or indoor market, and then we'll go over how much or how many items we sold in that market and how much we made in each market. So May 10th was my first one. This was an outdoor market. So this one was one that I had never done before. So this one was, and I think I mentioned it in one of my other videos as well. This one's kind of nice because the fees are only $25. You pay $50 and they do 2 a year. So they do one in May and then the other one in September. So when you sign up, you're actually signing up for 2 markets, which is fantastic. I love. It is a huge market. Like I said, it is an outdoor market. It's done on a big baseball diamond. So I think the fields have 3 baseball diamonds, and then they have a stage. So they have a live band at these markets. So it's a lot of foot traffic, which is good. And I will definitely sign up for this one coming next year. They should be having signups within the next month or so. So this one we sold 18 items. Now, wasn't as great as what it has been in the previous years for this particular market, or at least what I've been told. It also landed on Mother's Day weekend, so I think that had something to do with how much traffic we actually saw through the market. And it was a beautiful weekend. It was sunny, it was warm. It was one of the warmest weekends we had had in a very long time. So I think that had something to do with it. But it was still a decent start. I was happy with it. So 18 items in total. We did sell $144 worth. And like I said, this one, it was a $25 fee for a 10 by 10 space. So altogether, we sold or made $119. So I was happy with that as a start for the season. Our second market was on June 14th. This was another outdoor market, and this was my best market that I have had, and it was the best market that I had for all of 2025. And I did a full recap on this particular market as my best market. So I will link that video in the description below if you want to go back and see that one. This was a beer fest. So this is a whole festival. Most of these markets that I'm listing now, the only thing I didn't really list here was how many hours each market was. The majority of the markets that I do run 4 to 5 hours max. This particular market was a full 8 hours. It ran from 12 to 8 p.m. And in that 8 hours, we sold 71 items. Now, these numbers are going to be a little off only because that last hour, I was just really tired by the end of the day and I wasn't writing down what I sold. I know I sold around $100 worth in the last hour, but I didn't actually write anything down. So I'm actually only going to cover the amounts that I had written down, but there is a little bit difference between them. So 71 items in total. So we sold $796 of product, which was fantastic. I was so happy with that amount, which again, I think I sold an extra $100, so it's a little bit higher, but again, I'm just gonna go with what I had written down. This fee for this space was $65. That was the entry fee. Again, it was a 10 by 10 space. We did have to pay for insurance at this one because it is hosted by Parks Canada or Parks Ontario. So we paid $20 for insurance. So altogether, after fees, $711 is what we walked away with. And I was over the moon with that amount. That was the most I'd ever sold. And I've already applied for this market next year. I've already had a response. I haven't got the official "you're in" yet, but it does sound very promising just based on the email that I have received. So fingers crossed that I get into this one again for June 2026, and I will be much better prepared for that market. The amount of stuff that I had wasn't near what I have now, so I'm very excited if I get into that market this year. Our next market after that was on June 22nd. So this was another outdoor one. Again, it was a 10 by 10 space. It was a cute little bed and breakfast. And this was the furthest I drove away to go to a market. So where this bed and breakfast was, it was about 45 minutes away from where we live. And it wasn't very busy at this one. It's kind of tucked away. It wasn't in sort of the central part of the city. There was also a rib fest going on, I found out afterwards, in the city. So a lot of people were going to the rib fest. And they were doing vendors as well. There they had a market. And so I think this year I'm going to keep an eye out for it because I'm going to try to apply to that Rib Fest this year. My understanding is anybody that had, or really all the vendors, they did really, really well. So hopefully I can get into that one this year. So yeah, so June 29th, outdoor, it was at a bed and breakfast. So we sold $131 worth at that market. The fees were $40. So we did walk away with $91. So not the greatest day, but this was also the market that I introduced my silicone beaded keychains. Before this, I hadn't done anything like that. So I thought I'd add those at this market. So from this market on, I will break down how many crocheted items I sold versus how many keychains I sold. So in this one, I sold 11 crocheted items, and then we sold 4 of the keychains, the silicone beaded keychains, and that was it for that day. Our next market after that was about a month later, July 26th. Again, another outdoor market. This one was at a fairground, not too far away from me. The other downside to this one is it was one of the hottest days that we had had all summer. It was so disgusting out that day. It was like you would walk out. I don't wear glasses, but anybody that was wearing glasses, their glasses were fogging up immediately. Actually, I tried to start filming at the very beginning of the day, and I just couldn't. My lens kept fogging up, and it was just pointless to even attempt to film anything. So we actually shut this market down early. This market was, I believe, supposed to go until 4:30, 5 o'clock that day, and they shut it down around 3 o'clock because it was just too hot. There was people that were, they weren't staying hydrated. There was a couple of people that were almost getting heat stroke. So it just wasn't worth anybody's health at that point. And it was a very slow market because of the heat. People were just staying inside where it was air conditioned. So we did sell only $95 at this market. These fees were quite high for a market of this type. The fees were $67.80 because they do tack tax onto their fees. So all in total, we only walked away with $27.20 in our pocket. So not a great day. We sold 13 crocheted items and 2 keychains that day. Moving on to August 9th, again, an outdoor market. This one was done at a horse ranch. They take in horses, they rehabilitate them, and then they adopt them out again. So they have quite a few horses. They do have other animals there as well, but they're primarily a horse ranch. And this was one of the markets that I signed up for very last minute. I think I reached out to them on the Wednesday before the market because I didn't really have anything going on. They accepted me, which was great. But again, it was really hot outside. Now I was going to say the vendors were the vendors. The people that were running this market, they were fantastic. They had went and bought tons of water for everybody, for the vendors and all the guests that were coming in, and they had a big ice bucket with the water in there. So they really wanted to make sure everyone stayed hydrated and stayed healthy. They had a pergola, they had a lot of shade. They had put up a few tents just to try and make sure there was enough shade for everybody to get under, but they also had a live band, which was really nice. So we did see some foot traffic. Now a lot of people do come to see the animals as well, because you can go have experiences with the horses and feeding the animals. So not everyone came back to the vendors, but for this day, despite it being so hot, we did sell $139 worth that day. The fees for this one were $50. So we walked away with $89 that day. Out of that, we sold 6 crocheted items and 4 keychains. So obviously a couple of higher priced items were sold in there, with only selling 6 crocheted items. After that one, we went to August 23rd. So August 23rd, this is an outdoor market again. This is in a park, and this was my 1-year anniversary of doing markets, because this market was the exact same one as my first market in 2024. And this one was really good in 2024. So naturally I wanted to go back and try it again this year. So all in total, we sold $233 worth. So definitely one of the better markets. And it wasn't so stinking hot this week or this weekend. It started cooling down a little bit in August. So that was nice. Where we were actually positioned fairly close to Lake Ontario. So we get a nice breeze coming off the lake as well. So that definitely helped us. And we were in a shady spot too. So all those things combined and together, it made for a pleasant day. So $233 is what we sold. Our fees were only $25 for this market. So this is another nice reason to go to this market. The fees are low. You get a 10 by 10 space. You actually get a little bit of extra space because they don't cram you so close together. So all in total, we walked away with $208. Out of that, we sold 19 crocheted items and 5 keychains. Now, when I'm saying keychains, I have 2 styles. I have just sort of, like, I don't have anything to actually show you what I mean, but I have one that's a wristlet that I use, and then just another one that's just a normal keychain that has usually 5 or 6 beads with a fun little bead at the bottom. So it's a mixture of those 2. So that was August 23rd. September 27th. So this is, again, back at that big park with the baseball diamonds. This is the one that you pay once for both markets. Again, outdoor, of course. This one was a lot busier than the one in May. And I was told that as well, that the one in September is typically much busier than the one in May anyways. but it was definitely busier, and I was in a different spot. I was actually in the same baseball diamond as I was in May, but I was positioned a little bit differently, so that may have helped me as well, just with the people walking around. We sold $263 worth at that market. Again, fees only $25 because you pay $50 for both, so I just split it in half. We walked away with $238 that day, so very, very good. 15 crocheted items is what we sold, and then we sold 3 keychains that market as well. So I was very happy with that market. And a lot of what I'm making right now, I just toss right back into yarn. And I try to keep a little bit, of course, because I want to start paying for 2026 market. So I don't have a ton. And a lot of this money doesn't actually stay in my account very long because I'm just buying more yarn, and I have a problem with buying yarn. I have a lot of yarn, and I think a lot of crocheters have a lot of yarn and they just can't stop buying it. I'm actually waiting for another big shipment to come. I took advantage of some of the Boxing Day deals with Premier Yarn, so I'm waiting for my shipment to come, and it should be in by the end of next week, so I will share that when I get that as well. Moving right along, October 18th was our next market. And again, this was a market that I did last year. This was at the Alpaca Farm, and it's always a fun one. They have some decent foot traffic, and this year they had way more foot traffic than they did the year previous. I think a lot of that had to do with how they marketed this market. Some people didn't even realize there was vendors there. A lot of people that were coming to my booth, they're like, the vendors here are just a surprise. They were coming to see the alpacas because, again, they do experiences with the animals. They have other animals there. They had piglets. They have emus, peacocks. They have a lot. It's a cute little hobby farm. The majority of the animals they do have are alpacas because they do shear them and then use their fleece to make into yarn, socks, and a whole lot of other things. So this market was better than the one previous year. We sold $615 worth. So again, another fantastic one. Fees for this one are $50.85. So again, they do tack on tax on the fees, but that's okay. And we do also pay insurance for this market. Being on the farm, it does not cover, their insurance does not cover us being there. So we pay for our own insurance. So all in total, $70.85 in fees, which had us walking away with $544.15 in our pockets. So absolutely fantastic day. We sold 55 crocheted items for this one and 5 keychains. The nice thing with this market is I started introducing different items that I had never made before. So I think that made a big difference as well, because I do have some repeat customers coming through, see me at different markets. And if you just keep having the same thing market after market, they're not going to buy anything new. So I started introducing some newer items into this market, and it seemed to work for me. It was quite successful. After that one, we had one November 8th. So this was our first indoor market of the season. I don't know, November 8th is one of those time of years. Do you really consider that a Christmas market? Some people were coming to purchase for the holiday season. And because this one has always been talked about so highly in our area, I had tried to get into it the year previous and they were full, so I couldn't get into it. So I was able to get into it this year. So I actually took a risk and paid for 2 tables at this market. Each table were $50. They didn't do a discount if you bought more than one table or rented more than one table. So I did pay $100 in fees. Hindsight, I probably won't do that again. We'll see if I apply to this market again next year. I'm not too sure. That's kind of up in the air right now. So all in total, we did sell $217 worth of items. And again, this one, so $100 for table fees, and we have to pay insurance. So this was a new rule that started just before this market happened, that the school board, this particular school board, it's a public school board, they expect you to pay insurance if you are inside the school. So that was a fee that I wasn't necessarily expecting until the very last minute. So $120 in total fees. So we walked away with $92 from that market. So not as successful as I was hoping for. We certainly didn't have the foot traffic that it was built up to be. So that's why I'm kind of on the fence if I'm going to do this one again next year. How many items did we sell this market? We sold 20 crocheted items and 1 keychain out of that market. The next one was November 16th. So everything from here on, they're all indoor markets. So I'm just not going to say that each individual one, but each one is going to be an indoor market here going because it's getting colder. And we just started getting snow a little bit earlier this season than we normally do. So November 16th, this was another one at another school. So this was another elementary school. However, it was in a different school board. The first one that I did was a public school board. This one was a Catholic school board. So with the Catholic school boards, you don't have to pay insurance. So I didn't have to pay that, which was nice. And this one, again, was highly recommended. A lot of people try to get in there. So I did get in pretty early. I thought they limited how many crochet amigurumi specifically were in there. And it turns out they didn't. Now, and with that said, I still had a pretty good day, and we'll go over the amount here in a minute. In the emails that I had talking to them back and forth when I was applying, I thought they had mentioned they tried to limit it to 3 of the same items. And when I got there turns out there was, I think, 6 or 7 of us that were all selling crochet amigurumi. So I was a little disappointed in that. But again, with that said, we had a good day nonetheless. We sold $239 worth of items that day. Fees for this market were $40. So we walked away with $199 from this market. We sold a total of 21 crocheted items and 8 keychains from this market. And I was happy as well with this because not only was there a lot of us there, I was in the hallway. And in the hallway of schools aren't always the best place to be. Being in the gymnasium seems to be more successful, but maybe it's just the stuff that I had, the assortment that I had. I'm not sure, but I was happy with walking away with that amount. Our next market was on December 6th. This was the one in our shopping mall, and there was mixed feelings from a lot of the vendors from this market. I was okay with it. I knew going in where it was going to be positioned in our mall. He was actually in an old department store that has shut down, which was Hudson's Bay. So I knew we were going to be in the lower level of that old department store, which in the mall isn't positioned in a great area. It's at the end of the hallway. Not a lot of people come down there, especially now that Hudson's Bay is no longer there. The stores that are around it aren't super busy stores. And they didn't really... there was a bit of a kerfuffle between the two organizers, and they had marketed, and then when they were butting heads, all the promotions and marketing went away. They took everything down. So it was a little bit tricky, and they weren't allowed to actually market within the shopping mall itself. They couldn't put posters up or anything like that. So the foot traffic wasn't as high as one would have hoped, especially that time of year, Christmas time in a mall. But again, I was happy with what we sold. We did sell $485 worth of items that day. Our fees for this one were higher, so it was $85 just for the table fee. Now this was kind of nice because this is one of those unique situations for an indoor market. We did have a full 10 by 10 space inside, so I was able to use 2 tables, which was fantastic. Obviously, most times in indoor markets, you get 1 table and you have almost like a 6 by 4 or 8 by 4 spot, and having a full 10 by 10 space definitely made a big difference in how much stuff I could put up on the tables. So $85 for table fees. We did have to pay insurance as well. So insurance for this one was $22. So all in total, we walked away with $378. For this one on December 6th, we sold 31 crocheted items and 1 keychain on that day. So I was happy with that. And then our very last one was December 13th. This was another market that was very last minute for me. I had already come to the conclusion kind of back in October that December 6th was going to be my last market of the year. And I saw this one pop up for December 13th. It was at my old high school, so I thought, what the heck, let's go for it, let's do it. The downside to this one is there was really no promotions for this market at all. There was nothing posted, not even like on different social media platforms. So that was a little disappointing to see. The weather was not on our side this day either. It was pretty nasty weather. It was snowing and it was just making the roads very slippery and messy. So I think a lot of people were just staying home because of that as well. So all in total, we only sold $102 that day. Fees were $40. And then again, this was the same school board as the one elementary school earlier in November. So we paid insurance. So $22 insurance. So all in all, we walked away with $40 in our pocket. We sold 10 crocheted items and 1 keychain that day. And that was it. That was the 12 markets that we did for 2025. So all in total, we sold $3,226 worth of items. And sorry, we just had a little shaky moment. Tucker's at the base of my tripod again, kicking it. So $3,226 total for table fees for the year were $613.65. Insurance was $110 in total for everything. Now, the only thing that I am not taking account here, so again, my overall cost is going to be a little higher than what I actually walked away with, is my square fees. I did not calculate my square fees for the year. So that is something that I'm going to change for 2026, and I'll make sure I incorporate that. So it is more of a true overall number. So not taking the square fees into consideration, we walked away with $2,502.35. So I am so super happy with that. It was a great year. We got to way more markets than we did the first year. Now, the decision I am going to make for 2026 is, do I attend a lot of these markets that I attended last year, or do I branch out? So definitely the beer fest I want to get into. Like I said, I want to try and apply to a rib fest in a different city, just outside of where we are. So I'm hoping to get into that one. I think I'm going to try to go for bigger kind of festivals instead of smaller schools, because the schools don't seem to be working out as much or as well as they used to. And I don't know if that's just because everybody is starting to pop up a market now, excuse me, in a school. There's just too many of them. A lot of people, and I did hear this comment a few times throughout 2025, where they're seeing all the same vendors in all the markets that they're going to. So I don't know. I have some decisions to make for 2026 and see how I'm going to approach this year. There was a fair, a fall fair, oh, not quite the fall fair, but a fair in the end of August that is actually quite close to me. And I was going to apply this past year, and then I realized the expectation as a vendor is you need to be there all 3 days for the entire day. And the one day is a 13-hour day. I'm by myself. I don't have anybody with me. So to do a 13-hour day, that's a long haul for sure. I definitely think I'll have to acquire some help if I choose to do that. Now, what I did hear is there was some people there with crochet last year, and they completely sold out. They had a ton of stock, and they just sold out. So it would definitely be successful if I was there. No doubt about that. I just don't know if I can handle doing that long of a day. I don't want to burn myself out. And typically August is still very hot in our area. So I don't know. Some things to think about and things to ponder. I actually just reached out to somebody that lives near family members of mine, and they're about 4 hours away. So by branching out, I might branch out quite far this time. Go visit my family as well as do a market. So we'll see. We'll see if they get back to me or not. I just emailed them tonight. So all in all, I'm going to say 2025 was a pretty big success for our markets, and I am so looking forward to 2026. I have already started making new items. I have taken some time. I took some time just to enjoy the holidays with my family, which is why you did not see anything posted last Saturday. And and my videos might not be as consistent as they were. I am going to try very, very hard to post weekly, but there are definitely going to be some times that you're going to see posts just coming out every 2 weeks. I have some things that I need to accomplish for my full-time job as well. I am actually going through a course right now for my full-time job, and that requires a lot of reading a textbook. So unfortunately, right now, I am not crocheting as much as I would like to, because I am trying to prep for an exam that I need to write in a few months' time. So, yeah. With that said, guys, I appreciate you coming along for the ride with me. Like I said, 2025 was fun. I started this YouTube channel and just to see how things were going. So thank you to everybody that has stopped by, taken the time to watch the videos. Thank you to those that have subscribed so far. Any sort of interaction with the channel, I do appreciate. If you leave me a comment, if you're able to share or subscribe, I appreciate it all. Until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Bye.